From 1984 to 1996, Arnold Schwarzenegger consistently delivered bigger and bigger box office hits and created numerous indelible characters and catchphrases, as well as some of my favorite movies of all time. It was an unprecedented run, unrivaled by any other action star, and included his greatest contribution to pop culture, 1991's Terminator 2 Judgment Day. But all good things must come to an end, and we close out Arnold's blockbuster period and the season 2 finale of Every Arnold Movie Ever with 1996's ERASER. Hello friends, and welcome back to Every Arnold Movie Ever, episode 24. Before we get to today's movie, I received something in the mail. I received this beautiful plaque celebrating 1,000 subscribers. Look at how thick that is. But here's the thing. No one has taken credit for it. It wasn't YouTube. They don't care about people with 1,000 subscribers. So who did this? I have two theories. Either it's Jim Belushi trying to get on my good side and change my mind about him. No chance, Jim. Or it's from the Austrian oak himself.
This plaque is presented to the nerd with words for passing 1,000 subscribers. It's fantastic. I love you so much.
Yeah, let's go with that one for now. Thank you, Arnold. I love you too. All right. Yes, we are here at the season 2 finale, and I intentionally made this the stopping point because it marks the end of Arnold's iron grip on the box office. The times they are a-changin', and Arnold, who was usually spot on in his ability to understand the shifting landscape of movies, made a few rare yet costly mistakes. To understand how we get here, let's look at the action landscape in 1995 post-True Lies. Stallone was struggling to stay relevant with a quartet of underperformers before he wisely shifted to drama with Copland. Van Damme bombed with Street Fighter the movie and Sudden Death, even though Sudden Death fucking rules. Seagal was getting his last gasp at theatrical releases with Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. Even Bruce Willis was putting Die Hard to bed with A Vengeance. Now, the action genre was about to go through a renaissance and lots of virtual reality movies. Now, in most cases, the stars of those movies were not built like Arnold or really any of the other 80s action stars. But throughout Arnold's career, he understood when it was time to make changes to his formula. Early in his career, after the debacle of Hercules in New York, he challenged himself to improve his acting and was able to land a Golden Globe for Stay Hungry. He pushed to be Conan and signed a 10-year contract to play the role, but made sure he wasn't typecast by getting permission to make The Terminator. And then when he was firmly established as an action star, he took a huge risk and made a comedy. He stumbled for the first time in a decade with Last Action Hero and then Junior. However, those were not lazy movies. They were both quite ambitious. But 1996 is a really weird year for him. His output very closely mirrors what he did in 1994, a summer action movie and a winter comedy, and it's a bit of a stagnation. It feels like we've been here before, and just like in 94, the action movie does well, and the comedy does not. The action movie, of course, is ERASER, where Arnold plays a U.S. Marshal for WITSEC, which is Witness Security, who helps witnesses fake their own deaths to make sure they're safe and can testify in high-profile cases. It's actually a very cool concept for an Arnold movie. At the time, director Chuck Russell, who also directed A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and The Mask, was trying to find a project with Arnold when they were both brought ERASER separately. It was coincidence, and Russell was really excited about getting into business with Arnold.
I see Arnold the way a lot of people do, as a mythic, bigger-than-life character, and that's who Krueger is.
That's not Freddy Krueger, that's Krueger, the name of Arnold's character in the movie.
The character and the scenario are based firmly in reality.
Well, we'll see about that, Chuck.
But I like the mythic proportions of this man with a strong sense of duty who will literally do anything to protect a noble witness.
Arnold was also drawn in by the witness protection aspect.
The witness protection program is something that is fascinating because we know so little about it. Because of the secrecy it demands, no information gets out. We really wanted to show our audience what this world is all about.
Arnold equated it to True Lies meets The Bodyguard, but the movie contains a lot more than just disappearing witnesses. The main thrust involves a defense contractor selling cutting-edge weapons with the cooperation of corrupt government defense officials and the woman who tries to expose them. Basically, it's a lot of white people making phone calls and saying stuff like, "I thought we had this under control." Casting-wise, the woman who tries to expose the contractor is Lee Cullen, played by Vanessa Williams, who was actually suggested by Maria Shriver. Kruger's mentor and co-worker is played by Sonny Corleone himself, the late great James Caan, and his boss is played by James Coburn, who seems to be filling in the same role that Charlton Heston had in True Lies. Now there's a third James in the mix, James Cromwell, and he plays Lee's boss. And finally, Robert Pastorelli, the painter from Murphy Brown, provides comic relief as a mobster who Kruger erases at the beginning of the movie. Pastorelli basically takes the utility comedy role previously held by Tom Arnold, Danny DeVito, and yes, Belushi. The movie began filming in 1995, and according to an April 25th, 1996 LA Times article, was an extremely troubled production. The article claims that the movie's 4-month, $70 million shoot ballooned to 7 months and $100 million. Apparently, Warner Brothers rushed the movie into production before the script was even completed, so they could hit their release date of June 21st. And according to a quote-unquote respected industry veteran crew member,
I think it was one of the least organized pictures I've ever worked on. There were so many problems emanating from the screenplay. Some of the people involved in running this production were among the most ineffectual people I've ever seen.
It seems all the problems stemmed from the production schedule and trying to hit that release date. Now, the producers deny all of this, but reports suggest the script was being written and revised during production, entire sequences being scrapped the same day they were about to shoot. Very bad. In addition to the 2 credited screenwriters, Frank Darabont and Cameron's co-writer on Terminator 2 and T2, William Wisher, were brought in halfway through to shore up the script. I also saw that John Milius did some rewrites at Arnold's request. That's a lot of heavy hitters, and it suggests that Arnold himself wasn't happy with what they were shooting. Now, even with all that turmoil, the movie received positive test screenings, so much so that they dropped a planned reshoot of the movie's ending. So, is ERASER a massive disaster we should just erase from our memories, or a satisfying conclusion to Arnold's box office dominance? Let's find out. We open with a sequence that establishes John Kruger and his job as an eraser. He makes sure witnesses are safe by faking their deaths.
Don't move, you're dead.
Here he saves a mobster's life who turned witness. It involves everything you'd expect in an Arnold movie: hand-to-hand combat, gunplay, an exploding house, a little bit of humor.
What's your name?
Easy, honey. I don't think he wants to be pen pals.
Pretty standard stuff. Even his name is standard Arnold fare: John Kruger. One of 5 times he's played a John. John Matrix, John Kimball, Jack Slater, Jack's a derivative of John, and finally John Wharton. Kruger runs some data and we're introduced to DeGuerin, Kruger's mentor, played by James Caan, who will surely be just a nice, supportive friend and nothing else.
It's good work. I had a good teacher.
Then we're introduced to Lee Cullen, who's turning witness against her defense contractor company, Cyrez, which is developing some advanced tech. Now, the company was originally called Cyrex in the movie, but a real company called Cyrix protested, and they had to digitally alter the logo and ADR any mention of Cyrex.
Cyrus is contracted to scale them down.
Maybe Cyrus found the higher bidder.
Geez, you think anyone would have jumped on Google and just searched for, 1996. Where were you on that one, Jeeves? Lee goes through hoops to enter a secure room, the only room that will read the files. Remember that, very, very important. She copies them, then gets caught comically fast, like within seconds.
Miss Cullen, Mr. Donahue's office caller.
And she's brought to her boss, James Cromwell, who confronts her by pulling out a gun. Holy shit, that escalated quickly. But before he takes her out, the producers do a little math and realize they hired one too many Jameses. So Cromwell offs himself and heads on over to the Star Trek First Contact set. This puts Lee back in the hands of the FBI, where she gives them a disk that she copied the information on. They offer Kruger to protect her.
You're in an extremely high-risk situation, Miss Cullen.
But Lee refuses.
I will testify, but that's it. I'm going home.
Unfortunately, there's some chicanery going on within WITSEC, and they replace her disk with a fake. Cullen goes home and calls a reporter she's been working with, and tries to access a second disk she magically copied when no one was looking, not even the filmmakers. Then her ex-boyfriend comes downstairs after taking a shower. What the hell is this guy doing taking a shower in his ex-girlfriend's house?
Been waiting for you. I was just getting cleaned up.
It's over, and you know that.
Weird, but he's only there for one reason. You'll find out in a second. Lee knows the FBI is watching her, except they totally aren't because they are super dead. Kruger anticipates this and shows up in a jacket that calls back to Commando's tagline. And this is where we're introduced to the railgun with its X-ray technology and clay bullets that fire just below the speed of light.
Get down!
By Bye-bye ex-boyfriend. You gotta use this thing on somebody. They also have this cool nail bomb that catches Kruger right in the hand. But honestly, don't even worry about that because he will show no ill effects from his hand being impaled. If that happened to me, first of all, I'd still be attached to the fridge. And second of all, I would be on disability for like 2 years. But Kruger, he's fine. Just pulls his hand out. Kruger gives us a standard Arnold line here.
You trusted them. That's all. Now trust me.
Then whisks Lee off to a safe house. He delivers a little life wisdom.
It's everything I am.
No, that's nothing. It's a few numbers and some plastic. With your eyes in here.
And in any normal Arnold movie, this is where we'd learn more about his character. Instead, we get some vaguely romantic vibes and then just move on very quickly. DeGuerin reveals
someone's been murdering our witnesses.
And recruits Kruger to go help him protect his witness. Kruger, much like John Kimball, works alone.
This is my case, and I work alone. I work alone.
But DeGuerin won't let him this time. They're greeted by Agent Rookie, who's definitely gonna die very soon, and we get some good old-fashioned Arnold snark.
Don't you ever get tired of babysitting scum?
Yeah, but in your case, make an exception.
Followed by a mini suiting up montage. Oh man, I got so excited when this started, but then it's over, like 3 shots. We really haven't seen a proper suiting up montage since Raw Deal. A little disappointing. They go into the cabin, and one of the bad guys has the jump on Kruger. But DeGuerin saves him because they're good buddies and he always has his back and would never let anything bad happen to him. I just know that in my heart. And this sequence feels like a milder version of the open of Commando. Actually, I get a lot of Commando vibes from this movie.
Right? Wrong.
DeGuerin busts in on the witness being held hostage and...
You're early.
You're late.
Wait, what? DeGuerin is in cahoots with the bad guys? I can't believe it! I thought they were best friends! Come on! Kruger knocks a guy through a window. And just like that moment in Raw Deal where he's perfectly teed up for a catchphrase, Kruger leans in and... nothing. Perfect opportunity for something, anything!
Sorry to be such a pain.
DeGuerin kills his witness,
We lost her.
and they plan a picture of Lee to try and get to her. Kruger is suspicious, but not enough to refuse a refreshing bottle of water from his best bud DeGuerin. DeGuerin has a nice chat with Agent Definitely Gonna Die right here. Oh, wait, no, he's got a couple more minutes. While Kruger realizes he's been drugged. Before he's out, he texts Lee to GTFO, and she heads to the zoo. Agent, now it's time for him to die, dies.
Did I give you your evaluation yet?
Valuation?
Yeah. A+ kid.
DeGuerin monologues.
Wars, they come and go. The only difference is who gets rich and who gets dead. Personally, John, I prefer rich.
Which seems a little early for the villain to be giving away his plan an hour in. Kruger decides the best way out of this situation is the most convenient way. You know, open the door to the plane. Kruger tosses a chair into the engine and then accidentally loses the chute, so he drops out of the plane after it. And somehow, that is the most reasonable thing he does in this entire sequence. The effects here are so close to working, but the close-ups of Arnold just look, oh boy, that did not age well. So Kruger is now chasing after the parachute in midair, and DeGuerin forces the pilots to turn the plane around and aim it at a parachuting Kruger, who's just trying to get 100 points in pilot wings. Let the guy go. So Kruger improvises, and he starts shooting at the plane. And the best part is, he actually hits the windshield. How is that possible? The draft from the plane ties up Kruger's chute, and he manages to fix it about 4 feet from the ground. And that's gonna take Kruger out for a while. Oh, nope. Looks like about 2 seconds. In fact, he's fine enough to start quipping with some kids.
Where is this?
Earth. Welcome.
I gotta tell you, I love that sequence. It is the closest thing this movie gets to matching True Lies in sheer spectacle. And even some of that shoddy CG isn't enough to ruin the scene. Now, DeGuerin figures out that Lee is headed to the zoo, and the race is on to get to her. Kruger busts in driving a tow truck and gets Sonny Corleone by Sonny Corleone himself. Except, Kruger has the advantage because he's seen The Godfather, so he got out of the truck ahead of time. Lee gets cornered in the alligator exhibit and she's returning fire as if she's been doing this her whole life. Kruger busts in with a triple threat dive, shoot, and quip.
You're late.
Traffic.
He's almost out of ammo, 2 bullets left, but he's got an idea. And it's the best idea in the movie. Motherfucking alligators. This scene is great because it's just so gleefully violent compared to the rest of the movie. Like, sure, the railguns are powerful and they kind of knock people back, but these guys are literally getting their heads smashed like Gallagher smashes watermelons. It's brutal. And it comes out of nowhere. It's great. Kruger gets cornered, shoots the gator, and delivers one of the greatest catchphrases of Arnold's entire career.
Your luggage.
Is it better than I'll Be Back? Is it better than I Lied from Commando? Man, I don't know, but maybe it's time to make a top 10 catchphrase video. Then Chuck Russell remembers he's paying James Coburn, so he brings him in, and DeGuerin gives us a spot-on criticism of Arnold's character in the movie.
The man has no family, he has no friends, he has nothing to keep him honest.
No friends? I thought you were his friend, DeGuerin. Kruger calls Coburn and tells him he'll find proof of his innocence, and wouldn't you know it, Lee just happens to have some. Unfortunately, that disc is hacker-proof, which is such a 1996 thing to say. And now they have to break back into Cyrez to look at what's on the disc in that super secret, secure room. We get a stealth call back to the Running Man.
We can't go back there. They'd expect that.
I'd hate to disappoint them.
I told Killian I'd be back. I wouldn't want to be a liar.
Then this cool priest comes out and tells Kruger it's all clear. He was erased by Kruger, so he's helping out, which is a cool touch that also sets up what Kruger does next. You remember Robert Pastorelli from the opening scene, right?
Women need anything, you let me know.
Well, Kruger visits him in his new identity as a bartender in a drag club, and it's almost gonna get a little awkward.
Was it your idea to hook me up with the village people here?
But actually, they do okay. They do all right. Then we get a second trust me.
Don't let on to them straight, okay? I don't want to break any hearts or nothing.
Trust me.
And they head to Cyrez. DeGuerin knows Kruger's going to try and infiltrate Cyrez, and he goes over all the security around the building. It's very meticulous.
We've got every possible point of entry under surveillance, from the rooftop to the sewer system.
And yet, despite all that preparation and caution, they let this schmuck roll up through the front door to deliver pizzas and pretend to have a seizure as a distraction. By the way, this is the same plan my college roommate suggested when we were trying to sneak friends into my dorm room back in the day. Didn't work, because in the real world, most people aren't idiots, but in this movie, it allows Kruger to easily sneak in as a paramedic. The villains in this movie, they might have brain damage. They are incredibly stupid. Speaking of which, Pastorelli futzes with his leads, and the idiot paramedics think his heart stopped, so they defibrillate him.
Clear!
Twice!
Clear!
In real life, that would probably kill him, but in ERASER, it just makes him like 10% funnier.
You want some freaking terror? Get your ass up here, I'll jumpstart it!
Kruger and Lee hack into the CD from...
He must be running the disc from a remote terminal somewhere in the building.
Something we just learn is possible, even though they made a huge deal about only being able to access the disc from one secure location. I don't know. I don't care. What does it matter? More late in the game, information revealed is a previously unheard of Russian mafia gangster as the buyer of these railguns. Kruger and Lee attempt to escape, but DeGuerin captures her. There's this cool moment where they both empty their guns into bulletproof glass. Where do the bullets go? Don't worry about it. DeGuerin takes Lee as a hostage and escapes to the docks. But we're not done with Pastorelli. He convinces Kruger to let him help and recruits his cousin, Jelly from Analyze This. And Kruger tells Coburn he has the proof and to come to the docks. So everything's going to come to a head here. Pastorelli once again waltzes past DeGuerin's dumb shit security, providing yet another distraction for Kruger. And now we get to see the full power of the railguns, and it's awesome. These should have been in the movie more, maybe even had an above the title credit, because they're fantastic. They're fantastic. They shoot a Kruger and then just go like, well, that was easy, we killed him. Kruger ends up tricking one of the villains to pick up Kruger's gun, which then the guy holding the railgun mistakes for Kruger because he's looking at it through an X-ray. And I guess that X-ray isn't such a great feature after all, because this guy gets plugged halfway across the building. Kruger has a giant piece of wood impaled in his leg, but who gives a shit? It's not going to slow him down. If anything, it makes him faster. Kruger busts out of the floorboards, picks up 2 rail guns with no problem, and fires them with no recoil at all. And then he hits us with the budget, "I'll be back."
I'll be right out.
The Russian yells Russian things into a phone, and then Lee dispatches him, and it's like, why the fuck was that guy even in the movie? That's it, he's gone. Anyway, they blow up the entire building that Kruger is in. But he just waltzes right out with the 2 railguns, destroying everything in sight. More Commando vibes there. Eventually, DeGuerin gets Lee, and he uses her as a hostage, ends up shooting Kruger. But he hasn't caught on that Kruger is actually Jack Slater in this movie, and nothing in this world can hurt him. Look at how he runs and jumps as if he wasn't just impaled by a giant wooden spike. And we head into our big showdown with DeGuerin and Kruger on a hanging shipping container. I genuinely forgot Arnold's closing catchphrase here.
Say goodbye, John. Goodbye.
And that's why. That's the best. John Milius, the writer of the USS Indianapolis speech in Jaws, William Wisher, the co-writer of the greatest sci-fi action movie of all time, Frank Darabont, the writer of Shawshank Redemption, and several other writers could come up with. The container falls, DeGuerin is in bad shape, but Kruger is, you guessed it, totally fine. They capture DeGuerin, and it's pretty disappointing that we have this incredible railgun, and Kruger doesn't get to use it on the big bad. And we cut to pre-trial. Lee and Kruger are talking outside the courthouse, and for some reason, James Coburn does this. I've never seen a man happier. I know I've never smiled that big. I don't even know if I've tried. You know what? He's probably thinking about the paycheck he's about to cash for being in 4 scenes in this movie. Now, DeGuerin then implies that Lee won't make it to trial. Kruger and Lee get in this van, and they have a blast. And I'm assuming what happens next is an intricate plot to give Kruger a second chance at a closing catchphrase. He's been sitting at home going,
he really messed up. DeGuerin didn't really tee me up that well. All I could come up with was goodbye. Goodbye? That's not a catchphrase. I know I could have done better. We were on a shipping container. I could have said, ship happens, or orders up, or careful, items may shift during travel. I've got to kill him another way. Come on!
So Robert Pastorelli parks DeGuerin's limo on train tracks, and Kruger gets catchphrase redemption.
Yeah?
You've just been erased.
Then DeGuerin gets utterly annihilated by a train. This is my favorite death in the movie because it is a total non sequitur. Why did they kill him with a train other than to get one last big stunt in the movie? Actually, I'll tell you why. Because just like Shades of Commando's double dip of catchphrases...
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last? I lied.
What'd you do with Sully?
I let him go.
Kruger overcompensates and gives us this classic two-hander.
You've just been erased.
What happened?
They caught a train.
And you're not going to get any higher than that. So quick, to the credits! Jesus Christ, it's so fast. And that's Eraser. Reviews for Eraser were mixed to negative, most citing the preposterous plot and long-toothed Arnold formula. There were some positive reviews.
26 years ago, I had the pleasure of asking the great film director Howard Hawks what he thought made a movie good. 3 good scenes, he said, and no bad scenes. Well, Eraser has about 4 good scenes and no bad scenes. But those are big thrills and big laughs. Thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up for me too, Gina, for the same reason. The thing that I like, those rail guns.
I love them. Why do Schwarzenegger's movies come up with better weapons than the James Bond films? Consistently comes up with more cutting-edge stuff, more fun. That's why he's the #1 box office star in the world.
My dudes! This seems to be the moment Siskel stops resisting Arnold movies and finally understands their appeal. Eraser was released on June 21st, 1996, as promised by Warner Brothers, and opened at #1 with $24.5 million, beating out Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame, also a new release. The following week, Eraser dropped to #2, behind the debuting Nutty Professor, despite Eraser adding 146 theaters. In week 3, it fell even further when Independence Day came out on 4th of July, but it was able to scrape together 100 million domestic. And Arnold could always rely on his worldwide appeal to help him out, and the movie ended up taking in 141 million international for a healthy total of $242 million. It's a hit even though it quickly faded from public consciousness. When considering Arnold's career as a whole, it's easy to forget about Eraser. It comes at the tail end of his golden era, and its plot hangs on just a little too much of this government bureaucracy and burned CDs to warrant repeat viewings. I saw it in the theaters when it came out, and I've probably only seen it a handful of times since. But the moments that work really work and have stuck with me through the years. The plane set piece, the nail bomb, the railguns, James Caan, and of course, your luggage. In a vacuum, the movie is a lot of fun. I liked revisiting an Arnold movie I haven't seen in a while and laughing out loud at the payoff to the plane and zoo sequences. But, just like a lot of those mid-90s pre-Matrix movies about technology, Eraser hasn't aged as well as Terminator Total Recall, and it doesn't really carry the low-tech charm of Commando either, which is one of the reasons why I don't think it's as well regarded. The other reason is, it's one of Arnold's weaker characters. In something I don't think I've ever said, this one feels like Arnold going through the motions, mostly because John Kruger is a blank slate. He has no traits other than being great at his job and committed to a noble cause. We don't learn anything about him. Nothing. No family, friends, desires, ambitions. Everything that James Caan's character said is true, which feels weird after having so many movies where he gets to play fun, multi-dimensional characters. T2, Total Recall, True Lies, all characters with fleshed out stories who fundamentally change based on their experiences in the movies. Even in Commando, John Matrix had a daughter. Even in Kindergarten Cop, he's divorced with a child he doesn't get to see. Even in Last Action Hero, where he was a fictional character, he had an entire existential crisis. And even in Christmas in Connecticut, he's a director who likes Christmas and butts. Seeing it again in the chronology of Arnold's career, I now realize True Lies broke the Arnold action mold forever. It took everything that worked in an Arnold movie and pushed it to its breaking point. Maximalism comes back to bite him here because it's the be-all, end-all for Arnold's action career. T2 is a better movie, but True Lies sets the bar too high for straight-up action. And that movie was a lark for James Cameron. It's not even in his top 3 best movies. If you come at the king of the world, you best not miss. And the mistake Eraser makes is that it tries to keep up with True Lies, and it just can't. Combine that with the changing action landscape I mentioned earlier, and Eraser feels like a dinosaur looking up at an asteroid headed its way. It's still big and fun to look at, but soon it will become extinct. All right, let's get to the stats. Acting chops, 5. Arnold can give this kind of performance in his sleep, and he isn't really given much to sink his teeth into. Kill count, a clean 40 for a total of 492. Catchphrase, it's an all-timer, your luggage. And here are the Every Arnold Movie Ever Season 2 finale rankings. You get bonus double entries this time because I've been waiting to put Jingle All the Way in its place, and I've already covered it right here. Go check it out. Also, don't forget to, well, you know, everyone says to smash the subscribe button, but I'd actually like you to gently caress it. Ever so softly click it with your mouse. No need for violence. All right, you got your cameos and your T2 3D. Number 22, Hercules in New York. Number 21, The Villain. Number 20, Red Sonja. Number 19, Stay Hungry. Number 18, Red Heat. Number 17, Raw Deal. Number 16, Junior. Number 15, Jingle All the Way. Number 14, Conan the Destroyer. Number 13, Eraser. Number 12, Twins. Number 11, Last Action Hero, and your top 10 remains unchanged, T2 at the top. And that's it for Season 2 of Every Arnold Movie Ever. Thank you so much for taking this ride with me while I covered the zenith of Arnold's career. And when I return for Season 3, I'm going to cover some of Arnold's more infamous films, including a Bat Bomb, a Y2K Panic film, an attempt to recapture the glory of Total Recall, an attempt to recapture the glory of Commando, and the final huge hit of his career before he exited stage left to Sacramento. But before we get to all of that, the next time you see me, I will be in excruciating pain. Because I'm finally covering the movie you chose for me. It's the return of Nerd Torture, featuring son of a bitch, Son of the Mask. Seagal was getting his last gasp at theatrical releases with under... Seagal was getting his last gasp at theatrical... Seagal was getting his last gasp at theatrical... Seagal was getting... Why? Seagal was getting his last gasp at theatrical... Fucking shit, what are you doing?